Bitcoin hovering around 25,000. Is there anything important right below us or right above us? That's what we're going to look at today. Starting off on the short time frame, the hourly chart, then we'll zoom out, right? Hourly chart's good for the rest of, that particular trading day. When you zoom out, right, to the daily, weekly, then you can start to get the big picture. So we'll start off on the short time frame and see where we are, right? After a big move on any time frame, even the 5-minute chart, what are your odds after that? Well, once you start to find your balance here, you're likely going to trend sideways, which we're roughly doing, right? Trend slightly sideways or slightly, just bleed out or bleed up. So you need to be aware of patterns as you fall down here. If you start to immediately bounce, you're very likely going to come, out of that relatively quickly, right? You see the downtrend, right? Kind of a mini bear flag here. And going down, right? But patterns tend to morph after one pattern has played out or not played out. So on the hourly chart, right, we're looking at this, and then we're making, you want to, easiest way to do it, put it on a closing price chart, right? So then you're looking, you want to connect your highs and lows roughly loosely, and you see that why we're making a falling wedge, falling channel, whatever you want to call it, it is more likely to lead to upside than downside with this given pattern. So over the rest of today, we'll watch for a move higher to pick up steam. We're going to need to break 25.2, right? This is where you would, expect a move off of 25.2 up to previous lost support. We're looking at kind of 25.7 area, right? Put back on the candles. That seems to make sense to me in the short time frame, but you got to keep an eye on your Bollinger Bands here, right? See how much we're narrowing. That's what we're looking at. So you want to always be mindful of Bollinger Bands. See how they're cinching up here. This is, approaching a squeeze. Maybe in the next handful of hours, these come together a little more, and then we kaboom one way or another. But slight odds to, to the upside because of this morphing pattern into this falling channel or falling wedge. Okay, so that's what to watch for the rest of today. Now let's zoom out to the daily chart and look at concerns and support resistance levels. So let me close that up. We're looking at the 200-day here. That's a big one, right? We closed below it pretty significantly, right? So concern, right? Anytime you're below the 200 on any time frame, you need to be starting to lean a little bit more bearish, or at least be cautious. And we're under here, right? So just by definition, right? Not on anyone's opinion, but any chart you look at, any asset you look at, if you're under the 200 AMA, you got to be a little bit leaning towards the bearish, at least for that short time frame or long time frame, whatever you're looking at, right? So right now we're under it. So we need to get back above it before we start to turn any kind of macro bullish. Now, based on that hourly chart, right, 25.2, that's where we start to pick up steam, right? What do you think the 200's at? 25.2, 25.3. So if we move back to the upside, we look at like 25.7, right, on the hourly chart, right? That seems to make sense. That's kind of where we started breaking down, right? These candles that we had, kind of the yin and yang right back here, right? Remember that? So that's what we're looking at for resistance. If we get a move off of these lows, maybe we're not done yet. Usually after you put in a little bit of a drop, you're going to hang around here for multiple sessions. So again, that's probably the odds somewhere between, maybe a little bit lower. We'll look at that on the weekly chart. As you notice, there's not a whole lot to go off of here, right? We're at the lower Bollinger Bands. So by definition, on Bollinger Bands, if you're at the low part, prices are low. If you're at the high part, prices are high, by definition of said founder, John Bollinger. Follow him on Twitter. He puts out some good tweets every now and again, if you're not already. So if we get a move off these lows, then I would expect some hesitation here. If we blow through that, which Bitcoin can do whatever the hell it wants, then we'll reevaluate, and, probably not going to happen today though. So we'll tune back in tomorrow for our Friday Bitcoin update there. So that is what I'd be looking for the next, couple of days to, on the daily chart, right? This level, certainly today, a rally today, 25.7, I'd start to get hesitant. If we close above that today, that would tell me that, the lows could very well be in. That would be a nice move and a long lower tail, right? Starting to look like this candle right here if we did something like that, okay? So be prepared for that. How do our indicators look? Well, I'm glad you asked. Well, let's see the Fisher Transform, one of my favorite ones, still heading down and still running parallel tracks to the downside. So watch for that on shorter time frames to kind of turn that around. Let's see what it looks like on the 4 hour. Has it turned? No, but it looks like it's trying to maybe pivot. How about the hourly? How does that look? That looks like it's trying to gain some momentum. So again, you want to use all this in conjunction with one another, right? 25.2, pick up steam. Hopefully this is still going up. Maybe the 4 hour crosses, right? That's what you want to kind of do to become a better trader. You don't want to use one indicator or just one thing. You want, you want to like kind of use a story to tell the plot line, right? Okay, so also on the daily chart, we're getting some minor starting to get bullish divergence. So the MFI is a good one to use that on, much better than the RSI. If you're using the RSI for divergence, it's not that great. MFI and Fisher Transform as well is a great divergence, although we don't have it here. So slight, right? You see your lows, slightly higher low, same place. You want to use them at the same place, right? And then your low here or here, right? And then you want to connect them where they are now, right? And that is, the prices are going down, bullish divergence, your indicator is moving up. So slight and only on the daily. Wouldn't put too much weight into it. But again, you're trying to build your story, right? Let's zoom out again. Let's just do weekly for shits and giggles, and then we'll go back to our secret 5-day and put on our Gaussian channel and show you some pretty cool stuff. So Bollinger Bands on the weekly, tightening up, right? It doesn't look like they're tightening up, but if you put it there, right, then you can see they're probably the most compact they have been since right before our FTX move. And, what does that mean? Well, the likely scenario of us going down, lower than this wick, that's where I would get concerned. I don't think that's going to happen anytime, real soon or maybe ever. Taking this wick out, could we go down to, low 20s? Perhaps. But I think, you don't want to be too greedy during these times. If you've been waiting and been sidelined and you have a stack, right? We've talked about this and just for months now, that this zone is your buy zone, right? Not financial advice, but I mean, put on closing weekly prices here. You got your close here, your close here, your breakout, your bullish retest, you're back in the zone. So if you're dollar cost average kind of person, that's a good strategy. You're back in your zone, right? Are you going to be greedy and wait till we're down here? Do you think your favorite shitcoin YouTuber is calling for 22 or 19 or 18 and you're going to wait for that? Well, you might get front run by a Mack truck, okay? This is the area where you need to, use your common sense and see what's right in front of you, saying that a bullish retest and almost like a pennant formation, a flag retest here, could very well break back to the upside rather quickly. So if you see that, right, maybe you want to be cautious and, wait. Well, how many times is, trying to pick the dead bottom worked out for you? Probably not very well, right? So here's a zone showing you the facts, the breakout bullish retest so far. Now, hey, if we close down here, maybe you just cut your stops, right? Maybe you buy here and your stops are just right under here, 23, 23.5, whatever. And you get out, right? And then you're banking on coming down here. But usually, years from now, if you said you bought Bitcoin at 24K, 25K, 23K, 27K, no one's going to care. That's going to be a rock star buy because a lot of people are still, hiding right now, not back in crypto, but you're doing your future self a favor by trying to educate and find out and watch videos. You're still watching, right? You're still here. So you're going to do hopefully better than the next guy that's, given up on crypto so far and is not going to be watching again until we're at, back to 40, 50K. 100K, right? Then the masses come back and then we dump on them, right? So, okay. So going off of my soapbox rant, we're at the 200 week. We haven't closed here yet. And let me see if I have my, let's switch charts. We're going to do a switcheroo here on the weekly. Too many things going on, right? So here's that zone again on the weekly. And what else do we see, right? Well, we've talked about pretty much every weekly video for Bitcoin. The Gaussian channel on the weekly, the median line here, this thick line, it's thick for a reason, right? This is the bullish up here, the bearish down here. Bitcoin, besides the pandemic, has never closed a weekly candle back below that line, besides the pandemic, in its history, right? So what's that number? We would like to know that numbers. 24,725 as of right now. Going down week over week, but have we wicked below it? Yes, almost every time we wicked below it. Not every time, but almost every time we've had even multiple weekly wicks below that line. So could we go lower than that? Yes. The odds of us closing below that, pretty remote, right? One time in history, and it took a black swan of liquidation event to happen. Sure, but history doesn't have to repeat, but it does often rhyme. So worth at least noting and paying attention. Even noting where have we wicked to so far? I'm glad you asked. Almost the exact line, right? 24. Look at that. You can't even make it up. It's not even written in Hollywood. We've wicked right to the median line on the weekly Gaussian channel. So what about the 5-day chase? Can you show us the goddamn 5 days? Is there anything going on there? I'm glad you asked. The 5-day, there's actually something pretty epic going on here. We're trying to hold the top line, but that's not what I'm looking at. I'm not even looking at the Gaussian channel on this, even though it's cool. Still green, still prices kind of right on top of it. We can go back into it, no big deal. But what I'm really interested in is said Bollinger Bands here. Look at this. Look how swiftly these bands are closing up on a big 5-day chart, right? Look at this. So the volatility much less likely to go a whole lot lower at major support, at weekly Gaussian channel support, right? I mean, I can only show you so many lights before hopefully one goes off in your head, right? Just keeping this in mind. Don't be too greedy. My theme of the day, week, and month. Don't be too greedy on the downside, just like on the upside. Don't try to pick and time the bottom. You have to decide what is your future self going to think of you if you decide to wait and you never get those lower prices. Or what is your future self going to think of you is if you bought here and say the dead bottom is at 23.8 or 23.2, or you're going to be hella mad, right? You have to decide that. Make those decisions. If you're buying for the long term should mean you can live without that money for a couple of years till the end of the bull cycle. If you can't, then that's not long term, and then you're probably investing too much, and you're probably trying to gamble a little too much, right? So long term buys should be with money that you can live without. Anything else, that's not long term. A lot of people say they're investing for the long term, then they check their phone 7,000-8,000 times a day, and they're panicking when price drops 0.2%, right? I've been there, done that, right? I'm trying to give you my best advice for your future self. Okay, so that's enough of that. Hopefully this helps you. Let's look at the weekly briefly, the indicators, see if we see any kind of bullish signs yet. Not a whole lot, but one thing I am leaning on here is the ADX and DI is increasing, this orange line. At the same time, the bulls are on top. This is kind of a subtle indicator that tells me that the bulls are not only still in a big charge. Look at this ADX going up, right? The average directional index is increasing. This tells me the bulls are sleeping and playing possum, right? One eye open, getting ready to, maul the bears in a big way, whatever you want to call it. So that's that. I'll kind of wrap it up there. If you have any questions, leave me a comment below. Glad to cover some more stuff, whatever you want to see, but trying to help as many people as possible. I feel like focusing on Bitcoin now with dominance so high, with it being Bitcoin season. What the hell does that mean? If you haven't watched any of my videos, it's Bitcoin season. I didn't make this. This is on blockchaincenter.net. It's free. It tracks your altcoin season index. For the next time your favorite shitcoiner says alt season's right around the corner, you can go check your index and call BS or not. But it's 18. We're rising. That means altcoins, some of them, are starting to outperform Bitcoin, either to the upside or downside. This works both ways. But the major moves from alts comes above 25, right? Think back to early January, February, right? Alts, look at the index, 40s, 30s, 40s, right? That's when we can move again. We're still stuck in Bitcoin season, but we're trying to come out of it, right? We're trying to do that. We're checking this pretty much on a daily basis. We'll see where we go, but I like where we're going so far. All right, what else? Quote of the day. Childhood is a short season. Ain't that the truth? Usually you only realize that when you're not a child anymore. This boat, right? Looking back, good times, short times. I think that's all I got. Car of the day. What the hell? Let's get to it. What is it? Bugatti, but I'm zoomed in. Anybody got what it is without zooming out? You're definitely a car person if you got this one. It's kind of a dead giveaway. It's one of two cars. It's either the Veyron or the Chiron, and Chiron, right? The quads. I was gonna do like a zoomed in like that. I think that would have been a dead giveaway. Most of you are like, what the hell? I don't even know what the Bugatti Chiron is. All right, fair enough. $3 million is what it is. This one's pretty sick. It's got a little bit of custom options. Got the gold wheels, got the yellow interior. Pretty epic car. Bugatti Chiron, pass. Too much money, right? Even if I had the money, like there's other cars for way less money. $3 million, get out of town, bro. I feel like you gotta have, if you can buy 10, then you should buy it, right? That works for most anything in life. Just side note, if you can't buy 10 of something, you probably shouldn't buy one of something. Maybe a house is slight exception, but really shouldn't be, right? And best financial advice, if you can't buy 10, don't buy one. Certainly two. You should definitely be able to buy two, even houses. Cars, if you can't buy two of whatever you're looking at, TVs, shoes, model cars, if you can't buy two, don't buy one. Financial tip of the day. All right. I'll see you on the next one. 57 gold stars to you. Twitter, Telegram, Patreon, private Telegram, all linked below. There's nobody watching. I'm talking to myself, looking at 8 tiny glowing lights by the ocean. I'm going to go with PCH, Pacific Coast Highway. It's got to be in California. No one here, no one around me has got this kind of cash. I don't think I've ever seen one in real life driving. I've seen one at car shows. Car shows only. Like to see one live.